Recording because we have a Brandon who is working all of a sudden. So I'm going to be recording the rest of the semester so that he doesn't miss anything and he can still compete and go forward. Okay, so your DWI quiz. I probably disappointed a whole bunch of people today. Most of you failed it. I'm going to blame myself. And I'm not going to blame you for the horribleness of the garbage you guys turned into me. When I ask you for the punishment, what's a punishment? Okay, so you screw up in practice, how are you punished? At least when I was in football, played football, you run. And then when you finish the 15 laps he wanted you to run, he tell you that's not enough, go do 15 more. Is that how it works at the college level? I never made it to college.
I just don't play.
Huh?
I just don't play.
He don't let you play? Okay. When I ask for the punishment, some of you just gave me the charge. It's being charged as a Class A, Class B, Class C misdemeanor. Some of you just said less than 6 days in jail or no more than 180 days in jail. I want to know what the punishment is. I want to know the charge and the punishment. So if it's a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by up to 180 days in jail and a $4,000 fine, the correct answer would be Class B misdemeanor, up to 180 days in jail, $4,000 fine. The last question required you to go do some research because it's not in the penal code. But if you kill an on-duty police officer while drunk, that enhances to a first-degree felony, punishable by 5 to 99 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Okay? So, if you did not get a grade that you wanted, and most of you did not get a grade that you wanted, go back and do it again. And turn it in by Sunday, because you have no other assignments due Sunday. This week, we're going to be having a discussion about law and the sources of law. I've got four lectures to go through today and Thursday. All right, so for those of you who just came in and you missed my rant, if you do not like the grade that you received on your DWI quiz, redo it, turn it in on Sunday. I not only want just the punishment or the charge, I want both. It's a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by this. It's a Class C misdemeanor, punishable by this. It's I think I did that. I think you were one of 97% of the class failed. There was only 2 or 3 of you that did it correctly and got 100. You have to go see what you got. So just go back and redo it and turn it in. There'll be no penalties. There'll be no, even though the Canvas will say it's late, I'm not going to give you a penalty. I'm just going to give you an opportunity to redo it. And as I explained at the first day of class, I want you to be able to do these things right. So you get to redo them and redo them and redo them until you get 100. Because it's important to me and it's important to my stakeholders. You guys know how to write these reports and you know how to do these things. This little quiz is a quiz to teach you to pay attention to detail. And it worked, right? Okay. So when we get to our next report that you write, you're not gonna skip or miss the little details. And we'll turn that into a learning process. I'm not gonna go over it again, so if anybody else comes in late, they'll just have to find the recording. So, what are our sources of law? Didn't work, right? It's still on my back. Okay, so we create our law, we come up with our law from 4 different areas. Well, several different areas. Statutory law is the first of those areas. Statutory law is established, it's codified law. And that's what we read last week. We read what is murder, what is homicide, and we read what is DWI. And we went over them both. The statutory law started with Henry II, King Henry II. See, because we have common law or custom. What is the most commonly understood or accepted with common law?
Socially acceptable.
It's socially acceptable. It's what the majority likes. It's what the majority wants. It's what the majority supports. But let's say you have a significant other that you have not gone down and you're living with them. You're living as husband and wife, but you don't have the little piece of paper that says you're husband and wife. What is that called?
Common law marriage.
Common law marriage. So these are customs. Marriage, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, and you can agree with it or not, but marriage is something between 2 individuals who are married, right? I don't think it should be something that the government gets involved with. I'm a little bit of a libertarian. The Constitution was created and formed to stay out of my business. But the government got involved when they figured out that they could tax it. You know how much a marriage license costs? It's been 38 years since I got my marriage license, and it was $75 38 years ago. I had to pay a fee of $75 just to say that that woman is my wife. Did it change the way that we were? Well, yeah, my mother-in-law wouldn't let my wife move in with me until we got married. But beyond that, did it change anything of our life or how we acted or how we didn't go? We still did all the things that, yes.
Marriage license in Texas as of last year is between $60 to $85.
60, 85, so it hasn't changed a whole lot. It's pretty good. But these customs become laws. Did you know that it is federal law to celebrate Thanksgiving?
Really?
Yeah.
By business or just as a person?
You get the day off. It's considered a federal holiday. If you don't want to celebrate it, I guess it's up to you. But the government has to pay you double time if they make you work on Thanksgiving. Colleges, they like things, or the pros play on Thanksgiving. It's colleges play on New Year's. Traditions and customs and rules become law. They become codified. There was Henry II codified the law. Before that, it was just known as the British common law. We knew that we didn't do these things. You don't steal chickens. So when Henry II codified the law and he said, you don't steal chickens, he in turn gave a punishment. And what was the punishment for stealing chickens? In medieval Britain.
Stone?
You get your hands cut off or something.
That is Muslim law, and it's still today.
Isn't it getting like stoned or something? Like that?
Stones, no, not for stealing a chicken. In accordance with the Mosaic law, in accordance with Henry, if you stole something, you had to replace it plus 1/5. So if I stole 5 chickens from you, let's keep the math simple because I hate math. If I stole 5 chickens from you, how many chickens would I have to return?
6.
6. Is that a pretty cool punishment? So if you stole $500 from me, you would have to give me 600 back. That's the law of Moses.
So you stole one chicken, you have to give back like what, the thigh?
Yeah, a chicken and a thigh. No, I think it would round up to the next whole chicken, so it'd be 2. What if you raped somebody? What was the common law punishment for rape before we went to statutory?
You get rid of
It's not wrong. Wait, what?
Eye for an eye was back.
An eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, stripe for stripe, wound for wound. That was Hammurabi's code, which is the oldest statutory law that we have. Dates back to almost 6,000 years ago. If you raped somebody, you got raped. When Moses came along, he changed that punishment. If you raped somebody, if she screamed out and yelled rape, 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 you got stoned. Not THC stones, big rocks thrown at you stone. If you didn't scream rape, 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 you both got stoned. So, if you're getting raped, what do you do? You yell. Rape, rape, rape. There's some other interpretations, and people say, well, if, in Mosaic law, if you rape a woman, she's forced to marry you. And that's a misinterpretation. And no, it's not. And if you rape one of my girls, I will remove your head from your body and put your head in a river. And this is what was going on with common law. It was called a blood feud. It's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's the Hatfields and McCoys. You hurt one of mine, I'm hurting 10 of yours. And then you're going to have the attitude, you hurt 10 of mine, I'm going to hurt 100 of yours. And then eventually nobody's left alive. So we left these traditions and we went and codified the laws and set punishments. So in England, at the time of Henry II, rape was punishable by one of 2 sentences. Being hung by the neck until you're dead, or being beheaded. And these were just the unwritten rules. Okay, so all the codified rules and laws are turned and written into the penal code, which also establishes the punishment. And these penal codes are also known as the criminal code, the penal code, the U.S. code, the Texas code. Did you know that the U.S. Code, Chapter 10, Section 424, states that every man between the ages of 16 and 60 must own a rifle and 2 weeks worth of ammunition. This is federal law. Everybody here is over 16. How many of you own a rifle? Hell yeah. Caleb's from California, you don't know shit.
In Missouri, we're allowed to get a few things.
Yeah, and now they've changed the law to 21. To get a handgun, you have to be 12. Actually, now even to get a rifle in many states, you have to be 21. The states changed the law, but what does the federal law say? 16. At 16, in the history of our country, back when they wrote Chapter 10 of the US Code, 16-year-olds were considered men. Today, 16-year-olds are children. So children are not allowed to vote, not allowed to join the military, they're not allowed to drink, they're not allowed to do a whole lot of, can't get married. And can't buy cigarettes or drink. It all establishes on what we determine as the age of majority. So right now, what's the age of majority? 18. What should the age of majority be? 21. 25? I like 25, that's a good number. When are you responsible for what you do? Texas, at 17 years of age, you commit a felony, you're going to the big boy prison or the big girl prison. But do we really know what we're doing at 17? Or let me rephrase that. We know what we're doing. Do we know the consequences or the ramifications of what we're doing at 17? No. And that's the logic that we have behind the new gun control laws, raising the gun laws to age 21. If you are not responsible enough to own a gun, to legally own a rifle at 18 years of age, why should you be considered legally responsible for the most important thing you will ever do in your life? Which is vote. If I can't own a gun, why should I be able to vote? If I can't own a gun, why should I be allowed to join the military? Isn't that funny? If I'm in the military in California, I can't possess or own a firearm until I'm 21 years of age. How in the hell does that work if I'm going to be shipped off to Afghanistan? Well, we're done with Afghanistan, right? We're going to get shipped off to Ukraine to fight the Russians. I can't legally own a gun. I can't legally go to the range and fire a gun because I'm only 18 years old, but I can still join the military and go kill a bunch of Russians. Statutory law is dependent upon, not statutory law, codified law is dependent upon the understanding and the collective awareness. Okay, so within the statutory law, you find two types of law. Okay, the first defines the elements of the law. It defines individual rights, and it defines the citizen's responsibility to the law. So let's go to everybody's favorite subject, sex. In the state of Texas, how old do you have to be before you can legally consent to have sex?
17.
11.
It's
18.
18 or 17. You still love this?
She said 11. Hold on, before you laugh at her too much, she's from Ohio, where the age of consent is 11.
What?
What?
Wait, so consent was like an 11-year-old, not over 18.
At 50, how old am I? 57 years old, I can go have sex with an 11-year-old in Ohio because 11 is the age of consent. Okay, so let's go back to, let's stay in Texas, because Texas is kind of almost normal, right?
Compared to others, yeah.
So, compared to Ohio, what is statutory rape?
Rape of someone underage,
Pardon?
isn't it like the rape of somebody that's
Even if
under
the
the age of?
minor.
Having sex with somebody under the age of consent. So if you are 18 and your significant other is 17, what are you doing? Even if she's consented. I had a man on my caseload. I can't believe he did this. I can't believe that the notary public did this. This guy was 20 years old. He had a 16-year-old girlfriend. So all of a sudden, we're going statutory rape, right?
Don't we also have the Romeo and Juliet laws
Only 2
right here in
years.
Texas?
Romeo and Juliet is 4 years, as long as the older is not over 18. So the age range to have sex with somebody under the age of 18 is 14 to 18.
Let's do it.
Yeah, who wants, if you have sex in the state of Texas, if you have sexual relations with anybody under the age of 14, it is statutory, it is substantive, there is no defense, and you go to prison for aggravated sexual assault. Doesn't matter if she gave consent. She is not old enough to give consent. They have the Romeo law to help ensure or to assure, I think that's the better question, or the better answer, to protect those people who are close in age. My wife was 17 years old when I married her. I was 18. I am 55 weeks older than my wife. I had to get written permission from her mom in order for us to get married. Once we got married, then I could do what I wanted with it. Until then, well, you know what I mean. Until I got the marriage license and the written consent from her mother, if her mother wanted to file statutory rape charges against me, she could. Because she's underage, and I was over the age of majority. But she let us get married. Lucky me. 38 years later. So substantive law, again, defines the elements of the law, and we went over that last week. What are the elements of a law? It's in Latin.
Mens rea, actus rea.
Actus reus, mens rea, and concurrence. So if you go back to and you look at the penal code laws that we covered, it said homicide or murder is the act of ending the life of another person. Recklessly, maliciously. And then they had different categories of the punishment. Okay. It defines your rights as a victim, and it defines your responsibilities to obey the law. So if murder is against the law, what's your responsibility? Don't kill people. If you kill people, you have to answer to that, and you have to justify why you killed somebody. Then there's procedural law, and that's the code of criminal procedure. In our world, the procedural law is called the Code of Criminal Procedure. And this dictates or defines how the law can be enforced, how the law can be sanctioned, and what the courtroom procedures are. And again, it also establishes the penalties for violating this law. So the code of criminal procedure has a Rule 14. What is Rule 14? Look it up. Rule 14 of the Code of Criminal Procedure.
With a code of what?
A peace officer may arrest without warrant when a felony or branch of the peace has been committed in the presence or within the view of a magistrate.
Okay. Wasn't the rule I was looking for, but it's still a good rule. What does the rule that Mark just read tell us?
The-
The police officer witnesses a felony, they must arrest. The Augusta Police Department, where's the jurisdiction for a police officer who works for the Augusta Police Department?
Statewide, it's a city one, that's a
They are state police officers. They are licensed state peace officers. So if Greg Hammond, who's an ECISD police officer, goes to San Antonio, he's more likely to go to Denton because that's where his son lives. If he goes to Denton and he witnesses a felony, what is he required by law to do? Make an arrest, because he is a state police officer. In Massachusetts, a police officer for Boston PD is only a police officer within the city limits of Boston. If he leaves Boston, he's just another citizen. Which means if he wanted to go hire a prostitute, it'd be best if he went down to Sudbury. If he wanted to go do anything stupid that would cost him to lose his shield, go to Sudbury or Middlesex or Wayland. Outside the city limits of Boston, he's just another person. The state of Texas, you're a Texas peace officer. And you are required by the rule to arrest anybody that commits a felony in your possession, in your presence. But the rule I was looking for was the rule of disclosure. The rule of disclosure says, and it is met by the Sixth Amendment. And what does the Sixth Amendment tell us? Does anybody know?
Trial and reasonable search and seizure.
Yeah, unreasonable search and seizure. No, that's the Fourth Amendment.
It's speedy trial, impartial.
Speedy trial, impartial jury. He caught me.
And I know cruel and unusual punishment.
Cruel and unusual punishment is the 8th.
Come on, dude.
Hey, Google it. Sixth Amendment.
Guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right of a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you.
That's Rule 14. If I am the state and I have arrested you and I'm charging you with a crime, as the state, I am required to give you and your attorney all of the evidence I have against you so that you can create a defense against that. You as the defendant are not obligated to give any information to the DA. But the DA is required to give over all information and all evidence against you that they're going to bring the trial. If they fail to do so, it's called a Brady violation. And the Brady law comes in. If you go look up Brady law, you're going to come up with two things. The first one is going to be assault weapons are illegal. More than 30 round clips are illegal. That the Brady law has expired. But our current president was the guy that wrote the Brady Bill. And he said, and this was back in the 80s that he did this. He was instrumental in his writing, or at least that's what he tells us. I got assault weapons banned before, I'll do it again. Brady was a Secret Service agent who was murdered by the guy who tried to kill President Reagan. And the Secret Service guy got in the way of the bullet, Reagan still got shot, Reagan still almost died, but Brady did. So they made the Brady Bill, and they made assault weapons and 30-round magazines illegal. It was illegal for us to possess them. But it was sunsetted. It had an expiration date. And when King George II, President Bush II, became president, he got rid of it.
So during that time period, you could walk around with a clip of 29, but not a 30.
Yep. Okay, so substantive laws, procedural law are the two types of statutory law that we have. The next is constitutions, and this is another form of law. And Constitution Day is coming up. I can never remember. Is it the 17th or the 19th? 17th. The 17th. Is the 17th on a Tuesday or a Thursday?
Sunday?
Is it
17th
Sunday?
is a Sunday.
All right, so you guys will probably not have to watch my cartoons. Unless you just want. Would you like me to give a Constitution Day lecture to you guys on? So that would be the 19th. Oh, yeah, we need to do that on the 19th. I listened to a prophet over the weekend, a prophet over the weekend that says we're all gonna get raptured on the 19th, so. Woo! Let's go run out my credit card debt. With my luck, the rapture's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to sit here and pay it. Okay, so. Back up, constitutions criminal laws are contained within the Constitution. They're contained within the Texas Constitution. How many crimes are identified and listed in the United States Constitution?
Like treason one of them?
Huh?
Is treason one of them?
Treason is the only one.
Oh.
There is only one crime identified by the Constitution of the United States, and that is treason against the country. Because when the Constitution was written, and I know the history professors down at the end of the hall will probably disagree with me, but hey, I've got a degree in history too, so. The Constitution was a document to limit the power and authority of government. The founders, if you read the Federalist Papers, the founders believed that law was the sole jurisdiction of the state. So all of these alphabet soups, the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, I got a new challenge coin from the DEA Strike Force. It's pretty cool. Actually, I have it in my pocket. Pass it around.
It's gonna get lost.
No, it's not gonna get lost. I carry a 45.
Oh, you're meaning to put down somebody with that.
I carried a 9 when I was in the military. And I've shot people with it, and they still came after me. The military thought a 9 was really good. Do you know why a 9mm has 15 rounds in the clip?
It's a double stack.
Double stack.
Yeah.
So that you have enough ammunition to kill the guy. And especially the people that we deal with in our world, a lot of them are on some form of drugs. And the 9mm is not gonna put them down. Granted, I'm also special forces, so I'll put you down with a 22. Because I wasn't trained to shoot center mass. I was trained to shoot 2 in the chest and 1 in the eyeball. Because there's nothing stopping your brain through your eyeball.
Can I take a picture of it?
Huh?
Can I take a picture of it?
Of the coin?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay, so the Constitution did not allow or did not set up any laws other than it would be on treason because they believed that law enforcement was the responsibility of the local government. It's up to the states. So that coin comes with a story, I guess. Miguel Garcia gave me that coin. And if you go to the Wall of Fame, you'll see Miguel Garcia's picture on the Wall of Fame. While he was an undergraduate student here, he was a jailer for Ector County. When he finished his degree, he applied for and got a position with DPS. He was a state trooper assigned to the El Paso sector. And then he goes, I want to get my master's degree. He's almost finished with his master's degree in with us at CJAD, and the DEA offers him a position. And I had to write a letter saying, yes, he's going to graduate with a master's degree from me here, and you can hire him because he's a good guy and he knows what he's doing. He's got a 4.0 for his master's degree. They hired him at a GS-14, which is $122,000 a year, and he's running the DEA task force on fentanyl out of Las Cruces. So, and he's on my Wall of Fame. A couple of years, I hope you guys will be on my Wall of Fame. When you get a job in the field after you leave here, send me your duty photo, and I'll put you on the Wall of Fame. We have over 1,000 people that have graduated from UTPB with a degree in criminal justice, and they are sending me their pictures, and it keeps getting longer and more people on there. So I send you the same invitation. Request, beg, whatever. Send me your duty photo when you get a job, and I will put you on the Wall of Fame. You can also use me as a reference so you can get that job. Okay, so the constitutions establish crimes and definitions. Our state constitution is like 900,000 pages long. And every March, there are more amendments to the Constitution to be put onto the Constitution so that we can determine what is and is not a law. I really don't like the way that Texas does it, but we have to come up with all kinds of things. The U.S. Constitution does deal with procedural law. The procedural law and we're having this argument, especially with the 14th Amendment right now. 14th Amendment has 5 sections. The first section determines who is and is not a citizen of this country. It also determines who is and is not under the jurisdiction, or let me rephrase, the protection of the United States Constitution.
Like our territories?
Yes. Or we could have a really big debate on the undocumented illegal immigrants. Because Article 14, the 14th Amendment, says that the Constitution only protects those who are born citizens or naturalized citizens. Doesn't say anything about protecting non-citizens. And this is the argument that came about after 9/11. Those of you that were in my class yesterday, I got to watch all the pictures on 9/11. And this is a debate that continues. So if you're here legally, you came through the immigration process like my mother. My mother is 77 years old. She immigrated to the United States when she was 11. Well, I am a first generation American. When she turned 18 years old, she had to go take her citizenship test. And for anybody who is an immigrant and has taken that test, it's not an easy test. My wife tutors people if you need to study and take that test. But before she took the test to become a citizen, she was given this little green card, the green card. And on it, it says, this is a legal immigrant to the United States of America. You must keep this on your possession at all times and surrender it whenever asked by law enforcement. My mother still has her card with her little 11-year-old girl picture on it. And she carries it everywhere she goes because she was told this green card is what makes you a citizen. But she wasn't born here. She was born in Holland at the end of World War II. So, I'm gonna pick on you, Ken. Are you an immigrant?
Yes.
Do you have your card?
With me right now?
Do you have the
Oh,
card?
yeah. But at home.
When you get home, go read the card
Yeah.
and see if it says you must keep this on you.
Yeah, just 'cause, like, I lost everything. So
Right?
I'm scared of listening because it's like 500 to like.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to get the card again. So, you know my mom's story. You're living my mom's story. Do what? Did they immigrate here? I should have the card.
I know for sure they didn't carry it. I'll tell you that.
Or you could be like my grandmother. My grandmother on my father's side and my grandfather, both of my grandparents. So I'm a second generation American and a first generation American. My grandparents, once they got their US citizenship, and there's pictures of them burning their green card. I'm a US citizen now. So your parents might be like my grandparents. Okay, so the 14th Amendment establishes procedural law. Part 3 of the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment gives us the expectations of due process. And the 14th Amendment is one of the Reconstruction Amendments. There are 3 Reconstruction Amendments after the Civil War. Do you know what they are? The 13th Amendment is freed every slave. 14th Amendment established citizenship. 15th Amendment gave the right to vote to black men, not black women. They wouldn't get that till later. But the 14th Amendment established, not only established citizenship, it also established due process. And if you get nothing out of this class, you're going to know what due process is. The due process amendments were in the Bill of Rights. Well, let's go through that. What is the due process that protects every person in this country, regardless of the color of their skin, the God they pray to, or the country they were born in? Yep. Due process, it's procedural. We're talking about criminal Miranda rights. Where do the Miranda rights come from?
Miranda.
Miranda, the rapist who got stabbed for, yes. But the Miranda rights were established or considered legal based upon which amendments of the Constitution? The fifth and the sixth. That's a test question.
Write that down.
Not for you all, but her. If you decide to go after your citizenship,
Oh, yeah,
that's a test question.
3 years.
Yeah, you got 3 years? Good. Outstanding. That's a test question. What are the due process amendments? The first of the due process amendments is the Fourth Amendment. And what does the Fourth Amendment protect us from, Heston?
Oh, wait, that's what I said earlier. Hold on, just give me a second. Legal search and seizure.
Illegal search and seizure. Now, that's just. So the Fourth Amendment is the first of the due process amendments. And this says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, their houses, their papers, effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated. And no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by an oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched, the person or things to be seized. So what does this mean to us? What does this mean to you? Do I need to make it bigger, Caleb?
No, I got it.
You-
Don't come to my house.
Don't come to my house.
3 months. That piece of paper.
Don't come to my house. You can't kick in my house unless you have a piece of paper. And that piece of paper has to be supported by what? Samuel?
Judge.
No? Probable cause.
Oh.
Yes.
So game wardens don't need a search warrant, right? For state police.
State police need it. That's a really touchy thing. They can go look in your freezer whenever they feel like it.
But not my bedroom or my garage,
Right.
but just.
What if the-
If you have a freezer in your bedroom, they can go look in your freezer in your bedroom. If you have a freezer in your garage, they can go look at the freezer in your garage. What are they looking for? Meat, carcasses. What is the bag limit on crappie in the state of Texas? It's a fish. 25. So if you come to my house and there's 75 crappie in my freezer, you're gonna get arrested.
By you?
Not by me, I'm not a game warden.
Not a game warden.
The game warden's gonna take your fishing poles. He's gonna take your bait, he's gonna take your license, and he's gonna take whatever vehicle you drove to get to the lake. Oh, and the fish. So I got caught once with more than the bag limit in the freezer of crappie. And I said, I'm having a big fish fry on the 4th of July. And I've got all these people coming and I needed more than 25 fish. You're welcome to come. He goes, oh, okay. And he left. He showed up on the 4th of July expecting his fish.
How did that go?
Went well. His name is Mark Woodall. He's a good friend of mine now. Okay, so the Fourth Amendment is the first of the rights. And there's a whole lot of cases that go around our right to be secure in our person and our place and our effects. I had a client on my caseload who was on probation. It was when I had my substance abuse caseload. He was on probation for the sale and distribution of marijuana. And he was given 5 years probation. And the cops kept coming to me and said, he's still dealing, revoke his probation. I can't revoke his probation. He hasn't been arrested. Go arrest him. If you arrest him, then I can revoke his probation. But on your word that he's dealing drugs, it's not gonna work. He goes, yeah, but you don't need a warrant to search his house. No, I don't. Everybody likes to talk about the game warden, but a probation officer does not need a warrant to search your house if you are on probation. Now, I just can't go to Caleb's house and say, hey, I'm gonna search your house because he's not under my jurisdiction. But they reminded me of this fact. I said, I'm not going to do a search warrant. I'm not gonna go search this guy's house because you asked me to. That's a way to get around this. The man has the right to be secure in his house. He has a right to be secure in his papers. He has a right to be secure in his place and in himself. If you have probable cause, go bring it to the judge. And he'll give you a warrant, you can go search him and you can arrest him. Cops didn't like me much. So I went and got a warrant for his arrest. I went and got a warrant to search his house. And I said, I have been told by the police that he is dealing drugs. I have been told by one of his friends, and the friend, that he is not he's not dealing marijuana, but he's dealing cocaine. And then he has the cocaine in little baggies that he has taped to the bottom of this toilet seat cover. So if you lift up the toilet seat cover, it's covered in marijuana. Not marijuana, but cocaine. And the judge goes, okay, well, that's probable cause. Give it to the cops. They came to me. I verified it. They don't want it. They don't think you're going to sign this warrant. They think it'll be easier for me to get a warrant because I don't need one. He goes, you're right. You don't need one. I said, but I want one. He goes, yeah, I know. Why do I want a warrant to go search this guy's house?
That way you can cover your side of the. That way it's just not your.
We can use the real word, cover my ass.
Yeah.
You can cover your arse.
I'd cover my ass because now I'm not searching his house. I am working under the color of law. A judge has said, yes, go do this search. So I went and did the search and I brought the cops with me. I said, hey, I'm gonna go search this guy's house. You wanna come along? They said, yep. And I step on the step, I knocked on the door. I said, I have a search warrant to search your house. And he goes, what are you searching for? I said, I'm searching for cocaine. He goes, go ahead. And then I start walking in the house and these cops start to follow me. Search warrant didn't give permission for the cops to search. The warrant gave permission to the cops to be there, but they didn't need permission to search. So I go to where my search warrant said. I'm going to the bathroom, I'm lifting up the toilet seat, and I'm gonna find cocaine. So I went to the first bathroom and I opened up the toilet seat, and what do I find? Nothing. I go to the other toilet seat in the master bedroom, I lift it up, and it's filled with all of these little pouches. I said, uh-huh. I look at it sideways, and then I walk back outside, and the guy goes, do we get to arrested? Do we get to arrested? No. What does this say? The search warrant must identify the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. What did my warrant say I was gonna seize?
Okay.
Cocaine. It was heroin.
Damn, it was.
So, can I have him arrested for this?
Technically not.
Technically, no.
No, so what do I do? Hey, Judge, I need to amend my warrant to include heroin. And he goes, okay, it's amended. And then I said, hook him up. And then I went, I collected all the heroin, I put it in an evidence bag, I signed it, I gave it to the cop and had him sign it and say. And then they put him in the backseat of the car. I went over there, I opened up the door and I said, expect your motion to revoke tomorrow. In the state of Texas, most jurisdictions in the state of Texas, if you get a motion to revoke, you're arrested, sent to jail, you don't get out in bond, you just stay there until your hearing goes to trial. He was officially sentenced for the case with me for 10 years in prison, and then the heroin, he got 50.
Damn.
They don't play with heroin around here.
How many bags are there? Just like pulled in that seems covered.
It was covered.
They get tired.
Yeah, so I think it was like 35 bags of heroin.
How much is that street worth?
Oh, I've got no idea. Sorry. Millions. I know the last heroin bust I was involved in was with Child Protective Services, and it was over $6 million. Okay, so what's the Second Amendment of due process? Number 5. The Fifth Amendment says that hold down. That no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentation of an indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land and naval forces or in the militia. Okay, I'm gonna go on a rabbit trail here. What's the militia? How many are you opposed to the Second Amendment?
In the militia, it's a citizen, civilian police force?
It's a citizen's military.
Citizen military.
Okay, but within the Second Amendment, it says, in order to establish a well-regulated militia, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I really like that, because that's what allows me to carry my 45. It's what allows me to have my 7mm deer rifle and my Mosin Nagant sniper rifle. Yeah, so when the end of the world comes and we have the real purge, I'll sit on top of my RV with my sniper rifle. Don't come on my street.
If you have a big sign.
Unless you have a big sign that says, Dr. Fisher, please don't kill me.
I have a white flag, so Dr. Fisher, hold fire.
White flags don't mean anything. The French carry white flags. So the land or naval forces is the military. The Fifth Amendment puts a distinctive difference between the land and naval forces and the militia. The argument that we're hearing a lot is that the militia has to be well regulated, which means the militia are the state guard, Texas State Guard, or the National Guard of Texas. They call that the militia, but that's not the militia, is it? Because those are armed forces. Those are state-operated armed forces. The militia is a citizens group who are called in times of war or invasion. And what do we know about being called up in times of war or invasion? Let's just say that World War III starts in earnest next Tuesday while we're here in class. And the Russians and the North Koreans and the Iranians come rushing up across the Mexican border, and they come into Odessa. What's the county judge gonna do? What's the sheriff gonna do?
Everybody has guns, fight.
You got a gun? I need your help. We're being invaded. Can we count on the United States military to protect us? No, we can't even count on the US military to protect the frickin' border. So the sheriff who is responsible for law and order is going to call everybody out to come help him until we can get the military out of Germany to come to Texas to help protect us. And based on federal law, you are going to have what already? A rifle and 2 weeks of ammunition. What's 2 weeks worth of ammunition anymore? Thousands of rounds.
Hundreds of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars. Okay. So, or when you're in actual time of war, you shall not be subject to the same offense twice. This is a double jeopardy clause. If you have been acquitted of a crime, you cannot be charged again. You're free. There's a movie called Double Jeopardy. It has, what's her name? I can't remember his name from Men in Black. Tommy Jones. Tommy Lee Jones is this probation officer, and I don't remember the girl's name, the woman's name.
Ashley what?
Yes, Ashley Rudd, or Judd. Judd. She goes to prison. She's sentenced to prison for 15 years for killing her husband. He faked his death. She gets out of prison on good behavior, goes down to New Orleans and shoots him right in the middle of the public. And they go, you can't punish her for it. She's already been tried and convicted and served time for killing her husband. This is double jeopardy. If you have been acquitted or you have already served your time for an offense, you cannot be tried again. So let's bring up Rodney King. Very few of you are old enough to remember 9/11. I know none of you are old enough to remember Rodney King, except for what was told to you by family members.
I was.
Yes. Who was? Somebody said they were.
Yolanda. I was.
Yolanda.
March 3rd, 1980.
March 3rd, 1991, I was in Turkey. And Rodney King goes on this. The California Highway Patrol tries to pull him over for speeding. Rodney King has an active warrant. So what does he do? He doesn't stop. He leads this high-speed pursuit for 15 to 20 miles. He speeds over 100 miles an hour in a Ford Escort. Yes, it was. When he finally stopped, 50 police officers are there. And 4 of them, Anthony Brasino, Wind, Powell, and Kuhn, are the name of the 4 police officers that beat Rodney King half to death. They broke his leg, the big bone up here. Yeah. Powell, using a P-51 nightstick, hit him 79 times in 90 seconds. Sergeant Kuhn had the taser. So Powell would say, get down, stop moving. He would move, and he'd hit him with the nightstick. Kuhn would say, stop moving, be still, lay down, stop resisting. Powell would hit him, and what happens when you get hit by a big stick? You move. Kuhn would pull the trigger and zap him with 50,000 volts of electricity. This went on for almost 5 minutes. This beating of Rodney King, and it was atrocious. It was horrible. And the videos that they showed, and you could still go to YouTube and find the Rodney King beating videos, and it's focused on Rodney King on the ground and these 4 cops beating the hell out of him. There's one video running around where it is expanded, and it looked like a schoolyard. There were 45 police officers standing around in a circle, watching these 4 cops beat the hell out of Rodney King. So these 4 cops are indicted, and they are sent to trial. And the defense just put up cop after cop after cop after cop saying, was this rational? Is this something you would do? And every cop said, yes, I would have acted the same way. And the state of California acquitted them, all 4 of them, and sent them back to work. We then had the Rodney King riots. Billions of dollars of destruction, billions of dollars of everything. The federal government got involved, and for the same offense, charged them federally. Arsenio and Wynn were acquitted a second time. Powell and Kuhn were sent to federal prison. So the Fifth Amendment just says you can't do that, right? And I just spent a long time telling you that you can't do that. That you can't try somebody twice for the same offense. But what they did was they said, yes, but he's not being tried by California. He's being tried by the federal government. And this event, and do not get me wrong, I am not trying to defend those 4 cops. They belonged in prison a lot, especially Powell, belonged in prison a whole lot more than the 3 years that he got. If you go through some of the things that Powell did, one of the comments that Powell made while they were at the hospital trying to fix his femur was, damn, I got a few good licks in there. I got a home run when I broke your leg, didn't I? You know better than to run in the jungle. Earlier in the day, they found this text message. There's an MDT. If you've ever seen a police officer who's got a little computer sitting there, it's an MDT chat room for cops. And he was caught saying, he was asked about, hey, did you go on that domestic violence at such and such and so and so? And his response was, yeah. He goes, well, how was it? He says, it was like fighting gorillas in the mist. Complete and pure racism. The man belongs never to be allowed to wear a badge and a gun again. And 3 years in prison wasn't enough, in my opinion. But you shall not subject a person to the same offense twice. Okay. To twice put in jeopardy for life or limb, nor shall be compelled against the criminal case to be a witness against himself. You can't testify against yourself. So if you're pleading guilty, what are you doing? Testifying against yourself. Is it my job to say, yeah, I did it? Or is it your job as the state to prove I did it? It's the state's job. Okay. Without due process of law. And that's here we come up again. Okay. Nor shall private property, everybody forgets this one, nor shall private property be taken without just compensation. Okay. So the Fourth Amendment allows us to be secure in our home, in our place, in our papers. The Fifth Amendment protects us against double jeopardy. It also protects us against testifying against ourselves. What's the Sixth Amendment? Yep, the Sixth Amendment is the next due process amendment. And it says, and we've read this already, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial. What is a speedy trial?
It doesn't last 3 years and years.
So it doesn't last years and years and years. 90 days. If you are not in court in front of a judge within 30 days of arrest, charges are dismissed. Well, what normally happens, 9 times out of 10, you can't afford to hire your own attorney. So you get a court-appointed attorney, and he goes, sign this, sign this, sign this, sign this. And one of the things that you're signing is your waiver to the Sixth Amendment and a speedy trial. Donald Trump is going through this now. When is his trials going to start for his charges in Georgia? March 4th, the day before Super Tuesday. Wow. Donald Trump is saying, I have a right to speedy trial. Guaranteed to me by due process. Well, that's the first time we can get you on the docket. No. There's people in the Atlanta jail right now that have been sitting there for 3 years waiting to go to trial. We have the right to a speedy trial and a public trial. An impartial jury of the state, and I know I heard the honors class, Doctors Perry and Stanley talking about an impartial jury. What makes it an impartial jury? I've got 4 minutes. I'm using every one of them.
No bias.
They don't have their own opinions.
They don't have a bias. They don't have a dog in the hunt. They don't have skin in the game. They're just there. Do you think it's going to be possible for Donald Trump to have an impartial jury? Because there's nobody in this country that doesn't know him. There's nobody in this country that doesn't have an opinion of him. You either love him or you hate him. Well, I guess there's a third choice, and that's me and a few others. I think he's the Antichrist, but especially if he gets reelected, then I'll know he's the Antichrist. But anyway, that's a religious discussion for another time. You must be informed about the nature of the case against you and the accusation, and you must also be able to look the victim in the eye and have them say, you did this to me. If there is no victim, there is no crime. You have the right to confront witnesses and call them a liar. You have the right to discredit witnesses that are against you. And you need to know you get the right to an attorney and have him help you in your defense. And the state has to give all of their evidence. There is no surprises. Where's my freaking mouse? There it is. Okay, some people claim the Seventh Amendment, some people do not. I do only because the Seventh Amendment guarantees you a jury trial. Even though the Sixth Amendment also gave you an impartial jury, the Seventh Amendment gives you, this is actually for common law and for personal law and personal courts. You know, let's say you sold me a gun, and every time I pull the trigger, the clip falls out or the magazine falls out. I can sue you for that. And as a defendant, you have the right to get a jury. The Eighth Amendment. What's the Eighth Amendment? The Eighth Amendment is the last of the due process amendments. Excessive bail and cruel and unusual punishment. Sitting through my class for an hour and 15 minutes, is that cruel and unusual? No. Okay, so it shall not be required nor excessive fines imposed. Like Mr. Floyd in Atlanta. He's in jail. He's still in jail. He has a bond of $250,000. He is the CEO and director of Black Voices for Trump. Of the 19 people indicted, he was the only one that wasn't left free. All the old white guys and white women all got set free. They didn't set his bail. They said he was a threat to commit more crimes. Nor any cruel and unusual punishment. And what this turned around and did was it ended shaming. I think we need to bring shaming back. Because I think if more people are shamed, because that's how your mama got you to behave, right? You went and told your cousin and everybody else. Okay, questions? Comments or concerns? Okay, we'll see you Thursday.